So let's get started. A very good morning, everybody, and welcome you all to this 37th webinar of Plant Breeding webinar series. These webinars are being organized by the Foundation for Advanced Training in Plant Breeding on a monthly basis. And today we have Mr. Vasudev Kumanduri, who will talk about next generation plant breeding, unlocking efficiency with digitization of genomics, phenotyping, and trial optimization. The purpose of these webinars are to sensitize people to know and value the importance of plant breeding, and also to create an awareness on various aspects like technology integration, policy support, regulatory overview, farmer comprehensions, and various other aspects required for inclusive development of crop improvement. Foundation for Advanced Training in Plant Breeding is a non-profit organization dedicated to enhancing capacity building in agriculture, particularly in the field of plant breeding. Since its inception in 2018, Atpbr has made significant progress in advancing plant breeding education. We have organized 3 international conferences, 5 national conferences, 33 professional trainings, and 36 webinars, reaching out to more than 12,000 individuals who spread not only in India, but in other countries like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Brazil, Italy, Nepal, Afghanistan, Nigeria, Kenya, Vietnam, and Thailand. Atpbr has recognized 18 breeders and scientists and 3 organizations for their extraordinary contribution to transforming farmers' income through their improved crop varieties and farmer supportive policies. Also, we have published 6 booklets and 3 books under the aegis of Atpbr. We have 12A ATG and CSR certification, and we are eligible for conducting any CSR project. So this webinar has been co-organized by SeedUber, which is a partnership fund founded by the industry veterans with more than 100 years of combined experience in the agri-input sector. SeedUber aims to support business in the seed and agriculture input industry by offering a wide range of service, including germplasm exchange, regulatory consultancy, trialing, field days, data-driven product evaluation, product launch, and other promotional activities. We have provided customized solution tailored to meet your specific need as well. Now, I would like to inform you that Dr. Sadananda is not able to attend today due to his other commitments. So we have Dr. Digitisation as a moderator of the session, and I take a privilege to introduce him. Dr. Digitisation, an independent director at Atpbr, has more than 54 years of experience as a breeder, teacher, and researcher, and both from public and private sector. He has positions of Global Vegetable Research Lead and member of the Global Management Committee at Adventa, Global Vegetable Development Leadership Team member, and EPEC Product Development Lead at Syngenta. Global Bush Tomato Lead at Pioneer. He has been a FAO consultant on vegetable breeding and production in Myanmar. As a breeder, he bred market-leading hybrids of tomato and okra for India, and also served on various advisory committees of government and non-government bodies. He has published more than 50 research and review papers, and it's a privilege to have you with her. Now I request Tiku sir to please take the floor.
Thank you, Aparna. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, thank you very much for that introduction, and it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker to the audience, Dr. Vasudev Acharya Kumanduri. He has 20 years of experience in academic research in computational biology, bioinformatics, and later headed technology implementations in early stage leading edge startups in oncology and agri-tech. After working on plant genomics in IPK, Germany, he moved to Cambridge academic and research ecosystem in 2004, where he spent major part of his career in bioinformatics technology implementation in member institutes of University of Cambridge, EMBL, EABI, and the Sanger Institute, who were spearheading Human Genome Project and related primary research. He worked on many projects that include alternative splicing, genotyping, sequencing, NGS data analysis, and related bioinformatic technologies, and high-performance computing in biology. He has led the development of some prominent projects with global visibility in bioinformatics. After spending 15 odd years in developing software for the life science domain, he ventured into startups when he joined Inviata in 2015, a cancer research in UK, Cambridge-based oncology startup, who were working on non-intrusive biopsy technologies. Later moved on to Agri-Tech startups, Kisan Hub as vice president for the business vertical, Agri Trials and Development Ops. His passion for bioinformatics and for bridging the gap between science and practical application drove him to design a project around it in 2018 with the support of equally passionate Fani Yarlagada, who is also a co-founder and a domain expert in deploying enterprising solutions in a startup journey by the name Piatrika Biosystems. And today we will listen to Vasudev talking on next-gen plant breeding, unlocking efficiency and digitization of genomics, phenotyping, and trials optimization. Over to you, Dr. Vasudev.
Thank you, Surenji. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Let me see if I can share my screen. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Not yet. Yes, it's coming. Because all who have a question to keep it so that we can address it at the end.
And request everybody to please mute yourself.
Yeah, I am doing that. I will keep it. Yes.
Are your screen visible, please?
Yes, yes.
Right.
Clearly visible, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much again, Surenji. Much appreciated, especially coming from you, who is an industry stalwart and thought leader in your own capacity. Very kind words from you. To start with a little introduction, thank you again to all the participants who have joined the session today. My name is Vasudev Kumanduri, and firstly, I must apologize from my side if I sound a bit groggy and possibly lost in the slight transition, because it is 5:30 in the morning where I am with like 0 degrees outside. So I really had to make an attempt to do this, but I'm kind of very excited. As much as, you know, when SeedUber Aparnaji and the team contacted me earlier, I was initially very, very excited because you know, this is the space we work in, where we are kind of you know, consolidating, bringing in an amalgamation of different science together, computer science, genomics, and all. So I get very excited about this space, but then I very quickly realized that the plethora of audience who are going to be coming from a very, very varied different background. Now I see that a lot of the audience is from pure biology, a lot from genetics and molecular biology. I'm hoping people are there from computer science and data science and the new age programming or statistics side. And I also see that there are possibly many students and people from academics and private sector as well. So I kind of realized it's a talk. There is no one size fits all. So with all your permission, what I have kind of done is, you know, we are going to like break down and reduce the session to a bird's eye view without actually getting too much into the complexity and the depth of the science and technology, which probably, you know, as required, you can reach out to us or we can leave it for the discussion side. And we'll try to make it a two-way traffic as well later in the session. Well, at least the good news is that there's not going to be a lengthy, boring session, hopefully. So we'll make it really crisp. And so, without further ado, what we'll do is let's start by actually defining the topic itself and what importance it holds and why. We'll quickly start with the Simon Sinek. I'm not sure if you have heard about Simon Sinek, but I mean, just to bring a structure to the whole thing, what we will do is we will journey through the idea of why, how, and what. Why are we here? Why are we discussing this topic? And of course, the topic, the central dogma is of course the digitization side. So we'll be looking at some issues that necessitate and prompt the digitization in the agri space, and which kind of leads into addressing or talking about the process behind the purpose through the how, where we are going to be talking about the a little about the genomics and phenotyping and what were the pain point that we addressed and how did we address it, and finally we'll be looking at some results which can tie the whole story together. So let's quickly start off with the why part, but probably the best thing is to actually give you a little more introduction on the team as well. I think I've got a couple of people from my team here, hopefully. So this kind of ties in the whole story together as to how our journey started and how we all came here. So Dr. Tiku did mention the kind of background, but that is pretty much the background of a lot of our team. We come from a very, very varied background, right from computational genomic research to pure bioinformatics. We have seen the world from the precision agriculture side, which we'll talk in a bit. We have got a fairly strong team on the baseline agronomy research side, and of course with Funny and the rest of the team there, we have got a very strong enterprise SAS and high performance computing team as well, who have kind of worked in and deployed, designed, and implemented very, very large systems in organizations like BP and Capita. So it was very interesting for us to bring so many different domains together and come up. So this kind of gave us an opportunity to see the ground zero reality and how the different domains are connected together, and they gave us an opportunity to have a two-way view, a kind of outside in view as to what the world is leading to, what the seed industries want, and also to give an inside out view as to what the technology can do, what the technology can provide. So that was kind of very interesting for us. Now, just getting a little more into it, the link I provided that kind of gives you a lot more information. But sorry, is somebody saying something?
No.
Please continue.
Yeah, but a couple of baseline observation, realization that we ourselves had was the seed industry was working with a very, very interesting new set of problems where we were, talking about different crops and different different new alternatives. People who have worked with the agri sector probably now have heard quite a few number of times, how by 2040 you kind of need to possibly feed like 10 billion people or more. But the problem when we were kind of seeing, that was just a part of the thing. The way the sustainability development goals were going and the requirements were looking. I mean, we were talking a lot more than just the yield thing, just getting the yield out of the plant. We were kind of talking about alternate industries. We were talking about the other traits that can be expressed in plants. We were talking about other traits in context of biotic and abiotic stress. We were talking about cosmetic industry. We were talking about nutraceutical industry. We were talking about the sustainability development goals. I mean, there have been like many very, very good example where the alternate industry, right from your cosmetic, where squalene extraction from sugarcane happened, which was like, a very good alternative to killing a lot of whales. And there was the extraction of anti-cancer enzymes like catechinol from rice, which were helping the nutraceutical industry to, help in new product development on the industry side. And of course, the energy was a big one, whether you talk about the bioethanol or biogas or things like that. So there was suddenly what happened with the whole sustainability development goal, lot of new alternatives started forming, which was kind of very good for us. And so that kind of made us to realize three primary observations. Mainly, what we saw was, while there was this market-led need and market-led demand, if you see the landscape of the feed industry now, there are a lot of people from the feed industry here, I see, and you might correct me over here. But what we kind of observed was that of all the feed companies, there were almost about 75% or possibly more feed companies who were working on the far side. By far side, I mean the whole processing, the production, the marketing side, which is about 20% of the whole value chain side in terms of the workspace, the time space, and almost 70-80% of the time, resource, money, effort was actually going on the upstream, on the seed discovery side. Now, there are a few reasons why that was happening. Why, 80%, 75% of the seed companies were working on the downstream, where the major time was being taken on the upstream, but only 20% of companies were working over there. There could have been a lot. I mean, there were a lot of reasons, of course, but two main things was, of course, like I said, the time it takes and the effort it takes, the resource it takes to actually operate in that space. The second aspect is, of course, the awareness of the space, the technology, the knowledge, the science itself to deploy that thing. Especially more for the traditional breeding side. Now, that was the second observation that we had, that suddenly, in contrast of the whole conventional and traditional breeding space, this new next-gen molecular breeding space was very, very quickly evolving for very obvious reasons. Where we were kind of seeing that a more visual-oriented conventional traditional breeding was just the most promising thing. The more data-driven side, when we talk about the data, naturally the only way to go is computers. But that was kind of evolving equally quickly, and we kind of realized that both of them were equally, resource intensive, more so for the traditional breeding side. And that was the reason why the genomic or molecular breeding side was operating very quickly. Now, what was happening was, whether you're talking about the traditional side or the new age side, the fundamental problems the space was observing was in terms of lack of infrastructure, primarily on the data side. For the new age breeding came into place, and suddenly we were talking about deciding, what kind of traits, what kind of panels, what kind of a SNP sets, and how do you do the analysis on them? How do you actually encapsulate or assimilate or capture data, the phenotypic temporospatial data and the other soil data or whatever, put them together? How do you actually scale up an infrastructure around this? How do you actually handle the data and make a informed decision support system for the field industry and end user? While all this was going on, some people who were more adventurous, who already got into this thing, they were also kind of facing the issue that the technology that they were deploying was becoming more and more fragmented, because they were not able to put everything in one chronology or synchromeshed order. There were people who were dealing purely with, handling the genetic data, collecting it, assimilating it. There were people who were analyzing the data. There were the people who were building up the breeding programs around it, and then there were data collection side, the field side, and trial side were operating completely differently. And above all this, there was this lack of with decision support layer, the holistic analytical view, and so that was there. But gladly, what was happening is while the observations were there, the space was evolving very, very quickly as well. If you see the cost of sequencing and genotyping has exponentially come down over time, and the compute power has risen exponentially. So that kind of gave us a visibility as to how much of analysis we can do. And I mean, to an extent, I'm not sure if you have followed just a little tangent on the subject, but on the Moore's law, just this week earlier, Google mentioned about this Willow, the new chip. I mean, the computation has come to a era where Willow that they have released for the quantum chip that can do the kind of calculation in 5 minutes what even the supercomputer would have taken probably like 10 billion years, bigger than the lifetime of the whole universe. Or
zillions of years.
But pardon?
Zillions of years. What it would have taken. Willow does it in 5 minutes.
Indeed, sir. That was a very, very interesting thing. I mean, I'm not sure whether you followed, but they kind of did some level of a simulation, and they have claimed that there is indeed a parallel universe, right? I mean, of course, completely off the topic, beside the point. But there's a lot of interesting things going on. So so these things, although one output of the whole thing was the emphasis on building up statistical models with good accuracy was becoming easier. It was kind of almost bringing down the experimentation time, the resource cost to help in the decision support, and that is one of the reasons why AI/ML and genomic selections and all started picking up in last 1 decade or so very, very quickly. I mean, it's kind of very interesting to see. I mean, what we used to call high performance computing about 10, 15 years back, working on clusters and multi-blade systems. Now you kind of deploy the cloud service, and they have become kind of gone way beyond leaps and bounds over there. But one more interesting thing, what was happening was that while all this technology was coming in, we were kind of seeing a progressive increase, mainly because of the aggressive growth strategy from the bigger agri companies. There was exponential growth in this technology implementation. I mean, we were suddenly talking about GIS, we were talking about UAVs, we were talking about weather monitoring, pattern, temporal spatial data, soil data, putting them all together. So I mean, they were kind of starting to deploy all those technologies, and they were kind of bringing in mobile apps, and they were kind of working with micronutrient data, and a lot was happening on that side. But ironically, what was happening was that all this technology was being deployed on the far side. By far side, what I mean is towards the precision agriculture side, of the supply chain. A few reasons, because the supply chain becomes a low-hanging fruit for technology deployment. One, more absorbable, immediately provable. So that is easy catch. But what was happening is that level of deployment of technology on the far side, or on the precision agriculture side, was actually creating a support system for existing problems. It was creating a kind of a scaffolding for the issues that we were having on that side. But it was not addressing the primary issue, right? Which is the upside, the discovery side. A very recent, put some stats over there, which kind of the Purdue University a couple of years back, they conducted a very, very interesting research on quite a few areas where they were mentioning, how the technology is increasing, but the adoption rate for them is slightly less than what was anticipated. So, which was kind of a good news in its own way, that we saw that there was a opportunity, a novel opportunity for people like us to deploy these tech on the upstream towards the discovery side as well, and then you can start talking. You've got a proven technology of how to actually extract information from the data collected on the phenotype side, and we know how to handle the genomic side, how to enhance the data matrix on that and create a system. So that was kind of good for us. So based on these kind of observations, we embarked on our journey. We kind of brainstormed, designed, and we created an idea. And so that kind of brings us to the next phase. Let's go to the how, the actual, how are we handling this genotype based on our observation? How are we handling our genomics, phenotyping, and process optimization side? And so the big picture is based on our observations and realizations. The important thing was we kind of realized that the seed companies needed that level of in silico help to the breeding community and people who are designing the breeding programs, who can use that kind of in silico help and decision support to actually get to the bigger picture. That element over time, we'll probably see how that kind of eliminates a lot of consumption of time, for a lot of better word. And the intention was to actually put all the different domains, do a lot of computing around it, and provide a very informative infographics or analytics, what we call the new word that has come with the business intelligence. So what we did was we put this computational biology, we put the bioinformatics, the data science, the different components into a scalable cloud infrastructure to provide a platform and a service to the seed industry. So basically our integration of this discovery platform, what we call the phenotype data capture from the field operation side, and building up this whole data in enhanced data matrix is something that was fundamentally becoming very important. Now, from a slightly transverse view, how do we put that together? We basically deploy this platform on 3 independent verticals which are seamlessly connected under the hood. We term them the discovery side, the entry points for many seed industries who work on the primary research, which kind of feeds into the development side, the product development side itself, based on the data or results that have come from the discovery channel, and the development then goes on to the evaluation side, which has got a component of trials and all included. Now, well, of course, the baseline behind all that, from an enterprise solution perspective, baseline like authentication plugins and user profile specific access controls and things like data upload facilities and all. These are like base standard things. So we'll anyway have a look at that screen also as we go along. But the process flow itself under the hood was starting from the bioinformatics, of course, for people who need it, right? So there was a bioinformatics component where we were, we put a system together which can do baseline things like, QTL or GWAS analysis or SNP and variant calling, and it can perform like comparative genomics or diversity analysis, or explore more genetic variability, do marker discovery kind of thing. So there's a lot going on, and once this base bioinformatics work is done with, you kind of feed that derived information into line identifications and other discovery process that feeds data into our discovery vertical, where you can actually do the parental selection and do the making of the crosses and other analysis which are instrumental for the whole breeding program. And this information from the development layer or the breeding program design layer is fed into the evaluation vertical, where we do a lot of trial optimization, a lot of templating for doing the deploying the trials and giving fair amount of predictions on what is happening. And again, the program has the platform has been created in a modular way, where the system gives you auto creatable template which the program managers and others can tweak on. And we'll come to that in a bit when we see the screens eventually. So between the evaluation and the development side, is somewhere, if required, there is a on field intervention, where you have a trial design and breeding program and trial program that the system has created, and you take that program, you kind of deploy it on the field, you do the multi-locational studies, you do the testing or evaluation side, and you kind of start monitoring that through the platform as well. So basically, the far side of the evaluation or the trials, what you have is a design program implementation, and then that program you kind of tie up, because there is a layer of GIS and there's a layer of data assimilation and mobile apps and all. There's a layer which starts collecting the data. So this data in the evaluation side gives you a very good analytics on what the dynamic real-time performance across the multiple locations is. Plus, this also feeds in the data, feeds in the phenotypic temporal feature and all the other data into the genome metric. So that is how we kind of created the system. A little more depth, I won't want to go too far into this, but the transverse view, the intention is to use this various tools for the breeding industry, to use these various tools to either bring down the time in your number of generations that you can do, or if you can't actually reduce the number of generations, then actually for each generation you have a lot more information as to how do you reduce the resource time, whether it is in terms of like making the number of crosses that you want to make, number of lines that you want to consider, number of hybrids that you want to work on, and all that. And this is a very, very interesting space now. In this space now, what was happening was as we go along, two things are becoming very interesting for us. One thing is the breeding simulation. Of course, anything to do with data science, AI, ML, there is one golden saying that garbage in, garbage out. So of course, depending on that, but we are working on that side, where what we are intending to do is create a breeding simulation for each generational layer. So that kind of gives you the predictive possibilities on what the performance of the crosses could be over time. That is one. The second thing we are very excited about is this idea of mega environment forecasting, where you can do some level of a mega environment forecasting on both the location and the resource side. Don't want to delve too much into it, but what we are kind of looking at is there's a very good interest from the seed industry on that. Just to put a number around that side, it is estimated that there are tens of billions of dollars being spent on this R&D side. If you take just the top 3, 4, or maybe 10 companies, they spend close to about 10 billion possibly over time. That is the expectation. In about 5 years time, they'll be spending about 10 billion on this thing. Even if you take out the more adventurous part of the GMOs or transgenics and all, we are still talking about like $5 billion or more probably going into just this pure molecular breeding side of bioinformatics and data science side or computational side. So I think over time, if people have not already made value from this thing, they are going to. There's no other way. I mean, I personally think that there's no other way but to actually lean into this thing, because otherwise it is, from a competition perspective, it is becoming possibly difficult for the feed companies to operate in. But nevertheless, having said that, now this becomes the most important, personally for me, most interesting for me. How do we do all these things? So what we have done is we have worked a lot on our enterprise level architecture. There is a component of how do you do your DevOps, MLOps, SysOps, SecOps. How do you tie the data collection, semi-autonomous and autonomous data collection from the fields to dynamically enhance your genomic matrix and provide your statistics on the front end, whether mobile or thing. So there's a lot of architecture under the hood going on. There's a cloud architecture which talks about how do you put this full stack together. There is a MLOps architecture which goes on how do you dynamically upscale your model to do this thing. And of course, in the contrast of whole thing, what you also have is the most important thing for any enterprise level solutions that we work on is that you need to have things like your scalability of the system. How quickly can the system scale up on data coming in? Data coming in from one project is very different to data coming from suddenly 1,000 projects separately, especially when we are talking in terms of like big data scalability of genome data and all. So the second bit is the cost efficiency for doing this level of big data analysis and to put an infrastructure around it. You kind of need to start operating on a different layer. I mean, you can't spend crores of rupees and tens of crores or millions of rupees to start investing in like high performance below kind of architecture. You need to. It is a very inadvertent aspect that the push points, what we call, are only certain. Probably, if you can say, 15 to 20% of the compute time is when your CPU performance is at the max. So that 15-20% time, you need to have a facility or a way to actually ramp up or boost up your CPU performance and do the analytics and bring it down and kill. I mean, those kind of things, if IACs, Kubernetes, Terraforms and all, they operate in that way. So, I mean, this thing become very, very interesting personally for us who are kind of building up this HPC infrastructure, cloud-based systems behind the whole objective. And, as much as I'm kind of very tempted to go a lot into this thing, that is why I was kind of feeling a bit delicate for the different audience over here, how far I can go. So what I will do is probably I'll just leave all this with just anchor points, and we can possibly come back and discuss later on. So now let's actually see, we have seen why, we have seen how are we doing it. And finally, probably this is the quickest section anyway. We'll be talking about what are we doing, what exactly are we providing when we talk about the digitization space around. So the big intention is to use our strength around the data science side, around the genomics side, around creating a turnkey full spectrum solutions for the seed industry, create a platform for that and support it with our service. The intention and the value proposition is to help the seed companies and the breeding community to bring down their release time and release cost drastically. I mean, we are kind of hoping that in about 5 years' time, we are kind of hoping, keeping fingers crossed, that we might actually see a 50-60% of decrease in both time and cost. You're talking about the numbers over there. We are talking about big numbers. When you translate this, the decrease in the cost, the amount of benefit the market is looking for, and the money involved, you're talking some serious money over there. In terms, of course, this is helping the environment, helping the sustainability development goals, which are like being pushed by pretty much all the seed industry thing. And of course, the most important thing is it is becoming very important for the seed industry to stay ahead of the competition. They do realize that they have to step into the space, they have to get into molecular breeding space, they have to build up the infrastructure on that, they have to spend on the infrastructure on that, otherwise they will fall back on the competition, right? So, I mean, this is the new age that we are talking about anyway. On a more, service level transverse view, what we do is we fundamentally provide 5 bolt-on modular systems, verticals, what we call. We give a trait discovery vertical. We give a product development vertical. We give a product evaluation. There is a separate data management and analytics layer its own, if that is exactly what somebody wants. And of course, the mobile apps, and the way they kind of work is they are like you can lean into one of the verticals and then expand into the other verticals that become more and more important to you. That kind of gives the people a foot in the door to experience what the system can give, and then expand their service areas. It kind of also makes them easy to get comfortable and to acclimatize with the whole environment and product and see where this thing is heading to. But nevertheless, like I was saying, the important bit behind the whole thing is your data security, your data management, the configurable access to who can see what data. So the system is designed in a way that you can actually create user group, user profiles, and the admin layer can actually assign the user to a particular group itself. So we have got. I'll come to that in a bit. But yeah, the intention behind each of them again is under the hood, like we were talking. There's a cost optimization side. There's a scalability side. And most importantly, there's a seamless integration effort between each of these bolt-ons. So, you can travel from your variant analysis to your line development, to your evaluation, which is kind of supported by all your, GIS and visual analytics and all. And so that kind of ties in well. And of course, each vertical has got its own feature set. But just to reiterate on the modular, what we have is what we call the user persona or user profile. We primarily operate on like 4 user personas, 4 user profile. So of course, the top level is the senior management or the admin who kind of take the big decision and who kind of only see the big picture, what is happening on the business intelligence side. They don't want to kind of go into the nitty-gritties. They are the people who kind of want to classify, the responsibilities, digital responsibilities of the team. So they kind of allocate each person to the team. And so that said, the next layer is the PI, the principal investigator level, who are more involved with planning the whole investigation and planning the whole project. So they are people who get this template, who tweak in the templates, who kind of modulate the programs and decide the template, give a lot of reporting on that, see the mid-level analytics and all. Then there is a scientific team who are involved with the conductance of the investigation, the conductance of the experimentation, right from project onboarding to actually monitoring the project and seeing the process flow. And then there is a field team, the field staff who are more involved with like on-field operations, who operate with the mobile apps, see the dynamic real-time performance on the field and either use mobiles and all to upload the data or actually to have real-time discussions or chat. But having said that, this platform is modular in another way, that you can actually change. Now, the client-specific user profile is very important. Not every company in the whole industry has got the same requirement for the user profile. So the platform is modular in a way where you can actually, each client or each company can decide on its own important user profile, and they can provide tailor-made access to different features and tools as well, that which particular group can see what kind of analytics. Nevertheless, having said that, at the top, the admin has got the responsibility of managing the whole user group and managing users in each group and all. So there's a fair amount of enterprise level management provisions. Now, so once you go, so I have deliberately not delved a lot into what the big picture on the business level analytics are. I'm happy for the people to come back to our team and we can discuss it further. But just to go a little more on the PI and scientific side, and they've got this whole, we were talking about, bioinformatics toolkit, and where you do things like GWAS or QTLs and all. Now, although, I'm personally aware that, in today's world where we live, a lot of this work is a part of the primary genome construction itself. Well, unless you are kind of working with some level of a novel assembly or things like that. But nevertheless, we have given that facility anyway. But the analytics that our platform provides are kind of very interesting, where you can have a different kind of a view on the whole trait discovery or variant analysis or haplotypes or marker assays or things. So once you actually get through the primary research or the whole bioinformatics toolkit, you kind of wean in that information into now your whole genomic prediction dashboard, where you're kind of working with your germplasm characterizations, you're working with your genomic selection itself or marker selections, you're doing a little comparative genomics and all. So you're kind of tying up these steps together. And like I was saying, every user has got a different user profile, and you can see only certain things. These kind of tie up fairly well. For more adventurous people out there who want to kind of work on the cusp of AI/ML, there's a very interesting component of actually showing how the AI/ML or neural networks and other algorithms that we use are working in contrast of the genomic selection side. That's all more involved thing for another day and another discussion. But moving on from there, that kind of feeds into the breeding program, where you are taking the information from your bioinformatics primary research to your genomic predictions and genomic selection layer to your breeding platform or program designer, where you have kind of now got a lot of information on the germplasm, and now you start creating your programs. So this is the layer for the PIs and all who kind of lean into designing the breeding programs across multiple generations. And there's a lot, for obvious reasons, being a private sector startup, there's only so far that we can go in actually showing what all different things our platform can do and what different things can be done by the end user. And but I'm kind of restricted because of obvious things. We can get onto one-to-one discussion about that later. But yeah, coming back to this thing. So basically, then the breeding platform that weaves into this idea of product evaluation, where you're either doing evaluation trials or you're doing multi-locational trials and all, where you're kind of it's a big space in itself, where you're actually starting from having a control on what phenotypes need to be collected to actually what protocols you want to design for each of the multi-locational, single location trials or evaluation trials. How do you actually create a treatment template for them? What germplasm or crossovers or crosses or samples are going into those programs? Kind of start designing from that side, and that kind of takes you into actually creating the trials on the site, so you can actually use the GIS facilities and create the in silico trials or the simulations of the trials on your platform. And this is the manual intervention where I was talking about, where you create the trials on the platform and then you take it on field, and the monitoring happens. So once you kind of create the templates, which are kind of again tweakable, it kind of feeds into the next layer, where now you're actually, I did mention about this thing as well, that you kind of use the GIS facilities and map the fields around, where once you map the fields and stabilize the trials, then your satellite integrations and other weather station integrations, if at all weather stations are deployed over there, and if other instrumentations are deployed over there, they automatically kick in and immediately start monitoring and loading data. And of course, you can use the mobile, the field staff can use the mobile mobile as well. And last of all, the analytics that go behind the whole thing. This is kind of becoming more and more interesting as we go along. But the system has got enough firepower to actually start working from your NDVIs and LAIs and GAIs to your phenotypic data and give instant feedback on how each location is performing across. And there's a lot going on, but I think this is what I have for now. I think it was crisp enough. What I would like to do here is, I think we'll end it over here and leave the room for some question answers, if that is okay. Thank you.
Tiku sir, you are on mute.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vasu. I mean, that was very precise, and I think you covered a lot of ground. I'll just quickly kind of summarize, and then we'll open it for discussion. I think number one is, I think you defined what NGS actually means: digitization of genomics, phenotyping, optimization, and trial optimization. And your team is consisting of diverse, expertise that involved in crop improvement, including agronomy or data science, etc. And recognizing the value addition that seeds provide was the inspiration behind your developing this platform. And you also mentioned that seed discovery research takes 80% of the time, and you're driven by the fact that today's technologies can reduce that time and more precision involvement and getting results as per targeted by the companies or anybody doing breeding. And going from traditional to data-driven breeding is what things you have talked about. I think finally, I feel I'll summarize that you are talking about precision and speed in what can be achieved with your platform, which can do environment forecasting, predicting simulations and genomics and tools, and bringing them together and developing, the targeted projects, whatever we want to develop in terms of new varieties. But you also talked about not only being just yield driven, your climate resilience, using nutraceuticals, going from just farmer driven to consumer oriented breeding, using these tools. And I think I feel that there are a lot of people that might have asked questions. I thank you for this precise, but I think two questions that struck me from the chat box. One is, I mean, what is the marketing model that you have for your platform? And another question by the same Dr. Satish Hegde is, do you support germplasm management and checking heterotic pools? These are the two questions, and then we will open it for more discussion.
Sure. Thank you, Surenji. Yes, we have got multiple business and revenue models. So primarily, we operate on three aspects. We do, of course, our platform we open up for subscription. Each of the vertical has got a separate pricing model, whether you're kind of doing only discovery or only the evaluation side or only the development side, want only the data management module. Each of them have got a pricing model. And depending on what bolt-on comes in, the pricing module shifts the discount rates a bit. So that is one subscription based. We are also working with seed companies on co-development model, where we are kind of hand-holding them throughout the process, right from the point of germplasm collection to the panel design to sequencing and getting it done. We don't have our own, we don't own our own sequencing machine, but we have got enough partners who we partner, and we kind of take charge of the quality of the sequencing and genotyping with them, and we kind of analyze the data, and we kind of then see the evaluation side and development side. So that is one that kind of has got a royalty component associated. And something, while there is a lot of development going on the platform, something that we are also working on is the bespoke project derivation. There are some clients that are requiring very specific things. So we have got a specific small team of developers who work only on that bit. So that's a part. So yes, these three models we kind of work on: subscription, royalty, and project. And the second question you're asking about is germplasm
heterotic pools. So
Yes.
I mean that means you will be able to do with yourself. So basically, servicing product development through technology, usage will be one model, and then product development and product evaluation will also be used as a service model. And that is where I feel SeedUber and we can help in actually all the three levels. There is a possibility of collaboration between us. We have Dr. C.L. Gowda, who has raised a hand. He is the ex-Deputy Director General of ICRISAT and retired now, but a very dear colleague and friend. Dr. Gowda, please.
Yeah. Good presentation, Mr. Vasudev. I was sort of intrigued because, Dr. Tikku and myself go back to maybe 50, 55 years when we started our active breeding.
Yeah.
And those days used to take between 10 to 12 years to develop a variety, let alone getting it evaluated on the field and getting it to market and our farmers, whatever it is. And then with 2 crops a year, we came down to 5 to 6 years. But with speed breeding and now with added advantage of genomics and phenotyping and all these, it is further down to maybe 3 years or around that time. And then in your presentation, you also mentioned that you're able to do all this, including, prediction or environmental prediction for evaluation and all that. So my question is, with all this, do you think that the breeder needs to have at least 1 or 2 seasons of evaluation looking at these evolved or developed varieties, so that becomes a kind of evaluation using what I call the breeder's eye to make the selections before they go on to the farmer's field? Thank you.
Yes, sir. You're absolutely right. You're spot on. That seems quite logical. As much as what the simulations provide or what you see in the first output generation. I think it is only advisable that we kind of give some leverage to the breeding community who can do that, visual validation. But I think things are going to change, Dr. Gowda. I think, eventually we are kind of using this tech in a way where that, visual validation will also become a part of the in silico solution. Right. So I think today we are in a position where it is more psychological barrier to move away from manual intervention, which is quite right. I mean, that is how it should be till we get enough confidence to actually move it to the other side. But yeah, to reiterate your question, probably it might be the way to go. But if even including that 1 season of visual validation by the breeding community, I think we are still aiming at a much faster output. I'm not sure if that answers your questions completely.
I think I would like to add to that, Vasu. The speed and precision, I totally agree that you can curtail further the time taken to develop a variety or a hybrid, because you can cut down, you can actually select the right genes. If it is a few genes, if it is more complex, it still will take probably a little more time. But we cannot get away from evaluation in the field, because especially if there is disease resistance, where the heritability is less than 30%, because some of the complex traits are covered by many genes and they are environmentally very, very unstable. I'll talk about bacterial wilt in tomato, or you can talk about virus resistance in okra. You have a resistant, totally immune kind of reaction in one place, and you go to another place, you can have 10% only showing some resistance rest going. So this will have to be validated through multi-locational tests in the hotspots that are recognized. I don't think we can still get away unless we can have all these in greenhouses, with each unit having the variability that is existing for that particular trait in a particular hotspot, and you do it within the unit. But that will cost millions and millions of dollars to do, which probably is not. It is better to do it in the field. So that would be my additional comments to your reply to Dr. Gowda. I hope that answers your question, Dr. Gowda.
Yeah, I think with what Vasudev said and what you said, I think that is what I was sort of reasonably hinting towards. The final result has to be through evaluation in the field and then validation. Only after that, then we can say, yes, this variety.
In that validation is what I feel SeedUber can provide a lot of, collaboration with Piatrika. That's how we have decided to collaborate. I think, can I go to Dr. Dilip Verma before I go to some questions there in the chat box?
Yes, very good morning, sir, to all of you. And whatever question I was raising, that I got to answer from Dr. Suren Tikku itself. Regarding there is no fun of asking the same question again, and I have the answer from Suren sir. And as there was a chilling temperature outside his comfortable space, I was surprised how much he is dedicated to our plant breeders community as a whole. I thank Dr. Vasudev on behalf of his best lecture today morning in India. Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very much,
Dr. Verma. And now I'll go into the questions. Vasu, or do you have to say something?
Sorry, I'll just quickly, sorry, Funny is here, maybe he'll add in something. But just to go back to Dr. Gowda's thing as well, I think there is the new concept of digital twin that is coming. I earnestly request everybody to watch out for that thing. I think that answers a lot of what Dr. Gowda's question was around. But yeah, sorry, Funny, you have something to say? Let me introduce Funny. Sir, Funny is our co-founder, and he takes care of a lot of things himself. So probably he will add something here, please.
Welcome, Funny, please.
Hello, sir. Sir, I just wanted to add one point on the business, how we engage on the field evaluation aspect. It coincides with what Dr. Gowda and you have mentioned. So we are also working with companies to conduct field trials on their behalf with the latest tech and maximum transparency right from the start to the end. So that is one aspect, I think, which was not quite mentioned earlier. That is one area which we have been working a lot in the recent past. We work with companies on a specific project or a specific breeding program, or if you have a requirement to conduct field evaluations in any specific geography. So that is something that we work with companies as well. So this falls in line with the complete R&D support that we are providing. Right from genomics to phenotyping, and also extracting right insights by combining these two and making it more relevant to the breeding program. So that is our core strength as well, sir.
Thank you, Funny. And actually that also supports the answer to Dr. Gowda's question.
Absolutely.
The field evaluation is very critical also. Till we reach that stage, I think maybe I can't talk of future. They say never, but at the moment, field evaluation has to go hand in hand with all the technologies that we have.
At least in India, that is the future, sir.
Yeah,
at least in India for the.
Yeah. Ideas for the future, yes, of course.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Muhammad Junaid Rafiq, his question is, what role does pan-genomics play in identifying underutilized genetic diversity for breeding purpose? Would you like to say something on that? Or?
What role does pan-genome play?
Actually, pan-genome is the total diversity within a crop species across all species. And there's a lot of work going on now to discover new traits from the related wild species and then transferring them to the cultivated species. So his question is, what does the pan-genome, what role does pan-genome play in identifying underutilized genetic diversity? So would you want to say something, or I can?
Surenji, I think you are much better placed. Please go ahead.
I would say a big yes, in capital Y and yes, because today there's a lot of work going on, and because of these modern technology, it's becoming easier and easier to transfer those. You can do embryo rescue, you can do tissue culture, you can do so that you can get, and then you can basically screen a very large population, which is necessary when you do interspecific crosses. Without that, you may not be able to find that trait in the right background and then do back crossing. So yes, my reply is pan-genome is the way. And today, if you go to Cornell University and look at their tomato program on nutritional quality, Dr. I forgot his name, Giovanni. Dr. Giovanni is his name. You can Google him, and you will find lots of good papers on this and many others. I'm today Dr. Rajiv Varshni. Almost every other day we get his chickpea and other legume related work on this. Sudhanshu Singh says, can PBTS be used to analyze quantitative traits like yield for fruit size in cucumber and bottle gourd? Would you like to say anything on that?
Short answer is yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes, and obviously you will have to get in touch with Piatrika and work out a plan, or if you have deeper questions, please ask them on the email, which is already, or you have the ATPBR platform, we can do that. Indo-American hybrid seeds, how much secure our data in the software in terms of software crash and data breach? That's a good question. So can you please answer? Because
absolutely.
These are going to use your services. So data security.
I would love to go as far as possible on this thing with the danger of being a bit overwhelming myself. But yeah, one of the paramount things that, and I did mention it a few times as well in our talk, that one of the paramount things for the platform is data security. Now, when it comes to computation, right, data security has almost become a factor of how much money one wants to spend. Because, especially in the cloud, what happens is the more amount of security you require, you have your own VPCs, you have your own DMZs and demilitarized zones, you have your own servers, you can connect your on-prem servers and all. So, I mean, that is it. This is what we have kind of circumvented. I mean, we have kind of, we have made sure, see, I and a lot of people from the team, we come from a side where we have handled cancer data from patients. And we were under the regulatory aspects from various different bodies. So we kind of knew how important those things are. And security has been a big paramount thing for us. We can speak in detail about that thing. And we can talk about disaster recovery. The question is very interesting from Indo-American hybrid seeds. And we can go and talk about disaster recoveries and failover and recovery methods and strategies. Although those kind of things are never happened without the way we kind of have put the systems in place. Our data breach has, that has definitely not happened with the client data for us. And but there are we can talk at length from a computer. The new age cloud computing, it by default, one needs to know how to deploy it and how to manage it. But it gives a lot of facility. So yeah, short answer is yes. We are very concerned about
I would like to add to that. I mean, can you tell them that do you have, Piatrika has cloud service, or have you licensed some cloud space with the appropriate agencies, or how do you intend to store all the databases of if different companies are involved. That's what software companies today do. They give customers their own cloud space within their licensed cloud space.
We do have a cloud offering.
Yeah.
The servers are cloud based. There have been one-off incidents where there was a request for on-prem implementation, but we were able to talk to them and give them the advantages of that. But the question still, I think, why people are still slightly apprehensive about the cloud thing is because of the concern raised by the Indo-American company that what is the data security thing. That becomes important. Disaster recovery, failover strategies, data breach, security. These things are big on our list.
Yeah, I mean, two things I can add to that is one, even NASA uses clouds. So if Russia was able to crack that, then their NASA, projects will go haywire. So cloud-based spaces are pretty secure from what I know. Even the software companies that we use, I mean, every company is using now globally. And so each and every data is secure in their space. And I think one of the things we were told by one company is that they have multiple copies of that cloud space in case one fails sometimes, so that there is no delay in connectivity to the database for anybody wanting to use the space. So that is my additional thing. So, but I think any further, they can always talk to you. Anil Kumar Nalluri asks, how does this platform work for data like weather forecasts from research trial locations? Do the users need to upload all those data by themselves?
No, weather data, though we are past uploading our own weather data ages ago. So I think we work on various different levels. So standard is basically you use third-party APIs for weather, multiple third-party APIs with the best of the accuracies.
Okay.
Normally, you kind of get a fairly decent accuracy in about 2 to 3 square kilometers, or even for that matter 5 square kilometer radius kind of thing. But for more precision, where the error margin needs to be below 5-10%, we also help deploying the weather stations from our side. On-field weather stations, secure them and all. But that's a different thing that comes under our instrumentation side.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, these are low-hanging problems that have been thought of.
Well, thank you. I think, is there any other question? Otherwise, we can close. It was a very nice interactive session. And I think I wish you all the best in your enterprise. You fill a gap that is in the space of crop improvement. I hope more and more companies use, because everybody cannot create their own infrastructure and expertise. So it's better to license out. So this provides that that space to people. Thank you very much. Any last question? Otherwise, we close. Yeah, I guess.
I think there's a question from Pooja Singh.
Okay, is there?
I think there was a raise of hand. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Hello. Anybody?
Yes, sir. Pooja,
Yeah, please. Yes.
Sir,
Please.
I would like to ask that I am a MSc Plant Breeding and Genetics student, just pass out. How can I make my career in that next generation sequencing?
Please contact us.
Good question. Yeah, please contact Dr. Vasu.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, please reach out and let's see how we can tie things together and what your experience and exposures have been. And
so thank you, Vasu, and thank you, Funny, for joining in. And I request Aparna to take over and conclude the session.
Yeah, thank you very much. Vasu sir, it was really very informative session, and the way you have opened the window for medium and small company in India, I'm sure the future is going to be completely different. What we are having right now is going to be different, because these kind of service are required for the companies. As Chiku sir said, a lot of companies, they don't have resources. So This is a very needed platform. So thank you very much for giving a enlightenment lecture today. And I will forward your email ID to the people who have registered. If they have issue, if they have any query, they will reach back to you. So you can connect to them one-to-one for the more detailed discussion about any objective they have to deal with in future. So thank you very much, all the audience, and we are looking forward to see you again in future with another lecture. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you all for joining in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Suren, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.